Hey everyone, welcome to today's Program Yourself Thin podcast. Today we're talking about how to have the most pleasurable holiday possible. So I'm going to kind of flip the script a little bit because I think a lot of times if you're thinking about your weight, you're focusing on it, the holidays come and you start freaking out about it, right? And so a lot of times because we're so worried that we're going to enjoy ourselves too much, we're carried away with things that we don't really have the most enjoyable time we could possibly have, even though we may be eating a lot. Right. Because even if we're eating a lot, well, as we're going to discuss, first of all, you can eat in a way where you feel guilty and ashamed and frustrated and off track. Right. And then obviously you can eat too much and then feel crappy physically. Right. So when we talk about how to have the most pleasurable holiday possible, we're kind of flipping upside down how we typically approach the holidays if you care about your weight, if that's something you're focusing on. And again, you're kind of presupposing that you're going to be tempted and you're going to overdo it with all the cookies and the cakes and the whatever it may be that you may overdo during the holidays. And what we want to do is go straight to the heart of it, which is that we're looking to get the most pleasure possible out of the holidays. That's what we want. And a lot of people think that that's going to be eating everything in sight. But what I want you to do is I want you to think about another reality, a reality where you can eat anything you want to eat. Okay. Any food you want to eat, you can eat it. Any drinks you want to have, you can drink them. Okay. But I want you to imagine eating those foods in a more moderate way. So you can continue to eat whatever food it may be, but you're going to eat it more moderately. And when you think about that moderation piece, I want you to kind of relax, ground yourself, calm down. Maybe even take a deep breath and let it out. Okay. Because this, I think, is where you're going to find the most pleasure, where you can have the food you like to eat, but you eat them in a calm, relaxed way. You eat them, you enjoy them, you appreciate them, and you stop. That's what we're really looking for here. That to me is the highest level of pleasure, because I will see you're eating every cookie in sight, and I will I don't know why I always do this shit. I'm not a gambler, so I always say I'm going to see you, and I never know how it ends. But again, I think that you'll find that this is a more pleasurable experience. And again, I think dieters sometimes are fighting against overeating so strongly that they just presuppose that eating all the cookies is the most pleasure they can have. When in reality, overdoing it with pretty much any food feels kind of shitty. Again, you feel shitty physically, mentally, emotionally. And it's not the most pleasure. It's the most pleasure in that few moments while you're actually eating. And then it feels terrible. Again, remember, in Program Yourself Thin, we have 3 phases. We have anticipation, consumption, consequence. And most people separate the consequence out and just focus on the anticipation and consumption. And when you do that, that's when you think, oh, I just want to eat. Okay. But when we start to look at the consequence piece of it, which is always there, there's no avoiding the consequence phase. So, again, you can ignore it. You can try to ignore it, but it's always there, right? So when you start to focus on it, though, and you start to ask the question, how can I have the most pleasure? We've got to take into account the consequence piece of it. And so how can I eat the cookies in a way where I get the most pleasure out of it? And what you're going to find is that when you dial down the consumption, typically, not overdoing it, not going crazy, the more close you get to moderate, that to me, for me personally and a lot of my clients, that's been the sweet spot where they're really able to get the most pleasure out of the food. Okay, so I want you to think about it that way. Now, once we get past the food, how can I get the most pleasurable holiday possible? Sleeping when you can, relaxing, drinking water, maybe going for some walks, eating a piece of fruit here and there, right? These are things you can continue to do as well. So again, all of them are all pointing in the same way. They're all pointing at moderation, balance. Okay, so I think that's the secret to getting the most pleasure out of the holidays, is to not to go too far in one direction of stress and tension and overeating, but to really kind of live in that middle space where we get to do those things, but we do it more moderately, more calmly, more peacefully. And I think you'll find that this is absolutely the path to having the most pleasurable holiday possible. So I hope this helps you out. And if you want to go deeper into this process, this concept I'm talking about, click the link in my bio. And get the free hypnosis session I made for you. And I will, if you're over on Facebook or YouTube, I'll put the link in a second, but go get a free hypnosis session. And not only, again, I pride myself on, I believe no one gives you more free stuff than me. And one of the things I'm giving away this week is my Calm Holiday hypnosis and training. So I'm just giving that to you for free, a calm holiday hypnosis session. So you can listen to that. It's 10 minutes long, and it'll kind of walk you through having a calm, peaceful holidays that you can enjoy more, right? And so you get that in addition to the New Thin Me that you're signing up for and a bunch of other stuff. So go check it out, and I hope that helps you out. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. Hi, Micah. Like it says, this live is so needed, a real blessing, and that's something I understood too late. Overeating healthy food is as unhealthy as overeating unhealthy food. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the quantity of food we eat, it's just like, you have to understand, we've been conditioned our entire lives to overeat. We just get that message constantly, and you get it from every direction. It's just, we're constantly, and we're just driven to overeat. We do have the biology we're born into wants to overeat when there's food around. So there are multiple levels driving you and nudging you over overeating. But that being said, we can still work on it. I'm a big fan of getting good at moderation. And I have found that people that practice moderation are the ones that succeed the most, because, moderation is a skill. It's a skill. And I think most people just kind of like try it, doesn't work, and then they say, I can't moderate, but that's not how it works. It's a skill like any other. And the more you practice it, and the more you seek to understand it and develop it, the more you'll develop it, and the easier everything else gets. So yeah, I couldn't agree more, Micah, that it really comes down to the quantity. What you're eating matters too, but yeah, you can overeat a bunch of healthy food and feel like shit, and that's what we're looking to avoid. But I'll put the link up in, if you are on Facebook or YouTube, I'll put this link in there if you want to get this. I would strongly suggest you do, because we're getting closer and closer. If you're not on my email list, we're getting closer and closer to my book being released. Here it is. The Tao of Living Your Goal Weight. This is going to be released, and I'm giving free copies away in the beginning of the year. So if you're on my email list, I will be letting you know about that. Believe me. And you're not going to miss out on that. You get a free book. I think you're going to love it. So yeah, go check that out. But I give you a bunch of free stuff, and even in the new year, I'll have a bunch of free stuff for you as well. What's up, Shireen? Shireen says, during the holiday season, I've been using your nighttime hypnosis for an afternoon nap. It's done wonders for my stress. That's a great strategy, Shireen. Yeah, I think that's smart. Yeah, the hypnosis sessions, they're so powerful for so many different reasons. And I think people don't really understand this a lot of times. Obviously, there's the hypnosis side of it, where the words I'm saying and how I'm saying them are, looking to seep into your subconscious mind. That's part of the goal. But the other goal of the hypnosis sessions, every time you listen to a hypnosis session, you're relaxing, you're turning your attention inwards, you're breathing more deeply and slowly. It's just physiologically, it's very beneficial. And I think a lot of people overlook that. But physiologically, it's very similar and beneficial, like meditation or breath work, or, even some real gentle yogas. All of those things are turning your attention inwards, practicing your relaxation, connecting to your breath. All of these things that give you pretty important skills. So that's great to listen to that in the afternoon. And it would be an interesting time to do it. So yeah, I'm not surprised. Not surprised at all that you're noticing stress relief benefit from that. So that's great. Nice job, Shireen. Sandra says, I clicked on your link, filled in the form, got your temporary video whilst waiting for the email with your hypno session, but I never received the email. All right. That's very strange, but it does happen. I will say weird things happen sometimes with emails, but Sandra, if you want to email me at jim@programyourselfthin.com. Oh, I put the wrong link in anyways, by the way. I'm running on half speed here. I would say I'm absolutely in the holiday mode officially. Yeah, I just ate a giant burrito. Let's talk about normal weird stuff. I just ate a gigantic burrito, which I never, ever do for lunch. There's the right link. So I think all the blood's going to my belly and not my brain. But that's okay. Again, it's kind of like different days are different. But yeah, shoot me an email, Sandra. I'll get that fixed for you. Sometimes emails go in and there's not a million different things, but there are a couple different things that can happen sometimes that kind of mess up the you not getting the email. Good for you regarding the burrito. Yeah, definitely not. I don't even want to. I got to be honest. My kid loves these. My kid would eat these burritos 3 times a day if I let him. I like them, but good Lord, relatively healthy. I mean, beans and rice, and they're good too. But it's just funny. I'm usually have a salad, and usually I never eat before the lives either. So it is funny. Everything's kind of different. Jody said, "How's your cold? Mine is lingering." Yeah, I would say this is kind of a lingerer. I would say. I'm kind of feeling it, but I'm blessed. I feel blessed that I've kind of had a little bit of a cold thing, and it's like I feel lucky I've had it when I've had it. I had hoped. Oh, you know what though? I had plans. I had hoped to do the audio version of this book, this week. But then my voice was all weird. So I was like, oh, I didn't do it. But honestly, it was a blessing in disguise because I've been wrapping up some stuff. If you all are in the Program Yourself Thin program, I hope you all appreciate it. It's all kind of redesigned, looking good, I would say, so all the daily cards have been redesigned, the color scheme. It looks nice. Look nice. New logo. I got to say, Program Yourself Thin's looking pretty sharp for the new year. We're ready to go. And everything's in there. Locked in, been changing a couple things, upgrading, optimizing a couple things. It's real good. Kingsmere says, just come off of Monjuro. Any suggestion for keeping the weight off? I mean, the only thing I think there's only one. I don't know. I don't want to be like this. I'm not here to be self-serving just to sell my program. So I want to make that crystal clear. However, at the same time, I've never seen a program like Program Yourself Thin. I've never seen anyone approach I've never seen anyone approach their weight with a real systematic, strategic mindset, lifestyle, eating plan, and an ability to a strategy to manage your mind. I've just never seen that. So I don't know. What would you do to get the weight off? Because, yeah, I mean, this is where we're getting, folks. This is where we're getting with it. These GLP-1s have been on the market now. We're getting into kind of, a year and a half, 2 years, where they've kind of hit critical mass. But what happens after about 16 months is you stop losing weight. And so we're getting to that point where a huge group of people, because they've never studied GLP-1s. They haven't done a lot of study with GLP-1s on people that don't have insulin resistance. So the GLP-1s were studied for decades with diabetics and people with insulin resistance. And so they've never done huge long-term studies on people that don't have those issues. And it really wasn't until about 2 years ago when they started releasing them that they really are doing large scale. If you're on these things, you are the large scale study to some degree. And one of the things I'm always curious about is what's going to happen with people once they stop losing weight, because we can put up with anything when we're losing weight. But once we stop losing weight, and I know you're thinking, well, if I'm my goal weight, I'm just going to be still fired up. Well, I don't think that's true. And so I think that we're going to start getting a lot of people. It's going to start right about now. We're going to start getting a lot of people coming off these medications because they got to their goal weight and or they stopped losing weight. And I think it's going to be very difficult for people to continue on these medications once they stop losing weight. Because I think what most people do, what most dieters do throughout history is they will trade the excitement and the pleasure of the food for the excitement and the pleasure of the scale going down. But the problem is at some point you get to a goal weight and the scale stops going down. And it's estimated that 83 to 95% of dieters that lose weight put the weight back on. And I believe this is a core reason, because you give up the excitement and pleasure of the food for the excitement and pleasure of the scale going down, but eventually the scale stops going down. So where are you getting your excitement and pleasure now? And now I know what your brain says. Your brain says, well, I'm thin and healthy. Every day I'm excited and pleasure. But that's not true, because there's a thing called hedonic adaptation. We adapt to whatever our reality is, right? Whatever car that was new to you at one point you couldn't stop thinking about is now just your car. And this is just a natural thing that's very difficult to deal with. And so that's going to be a big issue. So a lot of people are going to come off these medications. And unfortunately, what they're going to find is that the suggestions for keeping it off to you, Kingsmere, is the same suggestions I give it to anyone. So whether you're on a GLP-1 or not, whether you have had gastric bypass or not, no matter what your weight loss situation is, if you're overweight. Now, if you're at your goal weight, I'm not talking to you. But if you're a person who's been struggling with your weight, to me, the solution is always the same, that you're going to need to have some strategic, comprehensive plan to change your mindset, lifestyle, and eating so that you can think, live, and eat like a thin, healthy person for the rest of your life. And on the GLP-1s, you didn't learn any of that. The GLP-1s, you just felt, not hungry. And so you didn't eat. But yeah, you come off of it and you're the same person you were before the medicine. You just weigh a little less now, but you've got the same mindset, the same lifestyle. You haven't had the same eating patterns, but they're going to come right back because your hunger is going to come back and you're going to do what you did. And I don't say that to be pessimistic. I mean, every GLP-1 study has shown the exact same thing, that no one keeps the weight off after you get on it because you're not learning anything. You understand? You're not learning. It's not even like steroids. Like steroids are a supplement. The GLP-1s are a complete and total alien experience that's not transferable to once you come off the medicine. Do you understand? And so, yeah, I mean, so to you, Kingsmere, I would say you're in the exact same path everyone on here is on, where I think get on the path I'm on. I'm always working on my mindset, my lifestyle, my eating, I've been doing it for 30 years. So it's like, I've gotten good at it. But at the end of the day, you've got to learn how to think, live, and eat like a thin, healthy person. So that's my suggestion. And good luck. I wish you the best with it, But keep showing up here. You'll learn more here than you will most places, I would imagine. But again, I'm not anti GLP-1s. I just want to make that crystal clear. I am absolutely not. I think for a lot of people, they're a godsend, but there are downsides too, and they never talk about those. So you don't know about those yet. I always say, whatever you think about GLP-1s right now, you're going to think differently about them over the next couple of years because they've been all shine. They've been all sizzle. You know what I mean? This has been no one's, there's nothing negative about them yet, really, but it's coming. It's coming. Ash says, how to stay consistent for 2 weeks? Well, if you're talking about the next 2 weeks, I'm going to hit you with a different angle to look at it, which is that I think most people, when they ask that question, how do I stay consistent? There's two sides to that equation. I don't think they ever look at the other side, right? A lot of people say, how do I stay consistent? But what they're saying is, how do I stay consistent with my really extreme routine? Does that make sense? Right? So it's like we almost take that for granted, that whatever you're going to do is going to be really intense and difficult and hard. How do I stay consistent with that? Okay. And so we never really consider that side of it. Right. So most people, the answer they're looking for is some magical motivation thing or some magical willpower trick or hack, but I think we want to look at both sides. You can absolutely boost up your motivation. It's the very first thing we do in the program, right? We always start with mindset, and the very first mindset thing, if you can't read that, it's motivation. Right. So we go through the science of motivation. I bring you through some questions and show you how to motivate yourself, how to keep yourself motivated. So that's certainly one piece of the equation, is to be more consistent. You need to be more motivated. And so we want to boost up the motivation. That's part of the answer. But the other part that's just as important and most people just overlook is, what is it that you're trying to be consistent with? And whatever you're looking to be consistent with, I would almost guarantee you there's an opportunity there to make it a bit easier to follow. And so if you make it less strict, less extreme, more comfortable, easier, that's going to support you to be more consistent too. And most people ignore that because they just want the fastest results possible. But what they do is, again, they're not more motivated. They're trying to get themselves to the most extreme thing. They can't do it and they just quit. And that's where most people land. So to me, I would much rather make it more comfortable for me. And I would think about it. Whatever it is you're looking to be consistent with, I would look for which parts of it are the hardest, and I would dial those down a little bit. So I hope that makes sense. What's up, Angie? Angie says, I was on a GLP-1, stopped losing weight, went off, and now gaining all 50 pounds back. I'm sorry, Angie. This is what I mean, though. This is going to be the story of the next 2-3 years right there. That's what you're going to hear. People are going to come off the GLP-1s because they're going to get, I'm telling you, no one gives a shit when they're losing weight. No one cares what's going on when they're losing weight. But what's happening to these people, the reason this is working is a big part of what the GLP-1s do is they boost up your aversion system. your aversion system, it's when you feel nauseous, because your body's trying to prevent you from eating things, right? And so you're not hungry at all. And, if you get really nauseous, you'll throw up. And if you feel, kind of nauseous, your stomach's upset, you're focused on it, you feel like shit, right? So they dial you right down below that is where they're trying to get. But so what that means, and no one's thinking about this yet because we're still in the weight loss phase of it all. I'm telling you, the next 2 years, the story of GLP is going to be all the people that come off and put all the weight back on. And I'll still be here. I'll still be here talking my Program Yourself Thin. Okay. But yeah, because what happens is once you stop losing weight, either you get to the 16 months or you get to your goal weight, regardless, what happens is now you start living your life. Now you've got to imagine your life, the rest of your life. Think about this. You're going to live the rest of your life never really enjoying food the way you used to. Meaning, you're never really going to look forward to a birthday cake. You're not really going to look forward to that fancy Italian restaurant you used to go to on your birthday. You're not really going to enjoy the food at that, the banquet place that you've always, all the graduations are at. You're not going to enjoy the food. You're not going to give a shit. And I know when you're losing weight, that's amazing. But when you start thinking about the rest of your life, never looking forward to a meal, never truly enjoying it, I don't know. Not a life I'd want to live. I love eating food. So Program Yourself Thin, ironically, the bullseye is all around eating our favorite foods. That's the bullseye we're aiming at, getting the most enjoyment possible out of our favorite foods. Because you know how you enjoy, you'll get the most pleasure out of the foods you like, eat them at your goal weight. And so the GLP-1s are a Band-Aid, an effective Band-Aid. Okay, absolutely. For most people, it's very effective while it works. But I think there's a lot of things people have not considered yet. And again, it's always devastating when you put the weight back on, no matter what. Even if you were told the GLP-1s once you come off and you put the weight on, it's still devastating as it's happening. So again, until you learn how to think, live, and eat like a thin, healthy person, I just don't know. I don't see a single solution out there, to be honest. I'm not trying to be like, oh, mine's the only solution. I don't want to sound that way. I'm sure there's other things out there. I don't know what they are, but I'm not saying I know everything. But what I absolutely do know is I know diets. I know GLP-1s. I know gastric bypass. I know lap band. I know those things very well. And I know across the board, there's not a single diet that's effective. Not a single diet. It's been 100 years of dietings, folks. There's not one diet that rises to the top of the list. The closest we'd get is Weight Watchers, and it's simply because they have a social piece to it. So there's not a single diet that has come close to helping people manage their weight. And as far as the GLP-1s, I just talked about them. And then as far as the surgeries, that's got its own thing too. So yeah. Oh, I see just Jody wrote that. Yeah, Jim, my work stopped paying for supplements. So they stopped paying or supplementing the cost. Now you have to be diabetic or pay for it yourself. That's the other thing. That's what I'm telling you. I'm telling you, folks, like the next 2 years is I'm here. I've been here the first 2 years talking about this stuff. I'm not hiding from it. Never was, because it was always a Band-Aid. I always knew it was a Band-Aid, a very powerful Band-Aid and an important, essential Band-Aid for a lot of people. There are people in life or death situations that are really struggling with their weight. I think it's a godsend. But if, for most people, I believe it's not a great long-term strategy. And absolutely, the money piece of it is going to be very interesting to watch. I've mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. I'm a town meeting member of my town, and our health insurance rates went up 40% last year. Almost all of that was from the GLP-1s. And so almost within the year, it didn't last 1 year, and we stopped covering it. We can't cover it. It's too expensive. You know what I mean? Like it'll bankrupt towns. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of insurance and places of work that are not going to cover those interventions. They're not going to cover the GLP-1, and so that's going to be another factor. But even if they did, folks, I'm telling you, even if they gave GLP-1 away for free, I think most people are going to ultimately choose not to want to be on that, because I believe that once the weight loss stops and you start realizing this is going to be your life forever, I think it completely takes out a giant piece of pleasure and enjoyment for most people, which is food. And I don't know if you're really going to be able to live a life where you don't really enjoy food and look forward to it. I would not want to live that. Not interested at all in that. So I don't know. Anyways, yeah. Sandra says, how do you overcome weight loss? Well, actually, I saw someone asked something over on Instagram land. Do you work out? I do some workout now, but I will tell you that my entire program was really built around not working out. So I lost over 50 pounds over 30 years ago at this point. So it's been more than 30 years. And in those 30 years, I have not dieted once, and I have not consistently exercised at all. I do a very gentle yoga. I do yoga, but it's an extremely gentle version. And so it's not like a calorie burning one. And so, no, I have mastered my weight by mastering my eating. And I've been able to master my eating because I have mastered, again, I master my eating because I master my lifestyle and mindset, which are the foundations of it underneath. And that's my approach, you know? So yeah, but I do work out more now, but now it's a different motivation. I mean, it's more, I'm getting older. And so I'm noticing, there's a little bit of a loss of strength there. So I do work out now. I do kind of push-ups and squats and stuff. I'm kind of getting myself, I'm in way better shape than I was last year. I'm actually really proud of myself. That was for me this year. That was really one of the big things I did. Two of the biggest things I did is I started doing push-ups Monday through Friday. I do push-ups and bodyweight squats. And I've been doing those now for probably like 8 months. And that's probably 10 months, actually. I think I started in February. And that's been amazing. I feel good. I feel strong. And so I don't know, I might continue that this year, or I might kind of kick it up a little bit, and start going to a gym once or twice a week. That's kind of the goal. I would like to do that. But we'll see. And the other thing I did, this might be my habit of the year, I think. I really love this so much, is that when I brush my teeth in the morning, I brush my teeth in a squat. So I'll squat down, brush my teeth. And that has made my legs, which have historically been kind of my weakest part of my body, and especially my knees, but it's made my knees and my legs so much stronger and flexible and comfortable. And that's been a real game changer for me. Like fundamentally, I feel different in my body. So that's been exciting too. Sandra says, how do you overcome weight loss plateaus? I think, the thing with weight loss plateaus is that they're kind of a concept. Okay. So if you're a dieter, hitting a plateau is like the kiss of death, because when you're dieting, the only thing that matters is weight loss, because dieters think about weight loss in terms of getting to their goal weight. So most dieters subconsciously think about weight loss as a temporary thing they're going to do until they get to their goal weight. And so subconsciously, it really highlights the importance of losing weight. This is why dieters, the second they hit a plateau, or God forbid, they put a little bit of weight on, pretty much across the board, they're just going to quit. They just can't keep going because they're so discouraged and destroyed with it all and all the rest of it. So I think weight loss plateaus, to deal with them, I think the first step is changing the way you think about this whole process. And what I would suggest is, again, dieters are focused on getting to their goal weight. Program Yourself Thin, we're focused on living at your goal weight. And the difference is everything, right? That they're two totally different things, because the idea of getting to your goal weight is just about getting there. There's no idea about how you're going to stay there. It's just, what do I got to do to get there? And when you think that way, you choose more extreme things, and the weight loss is even more important to the journey. So when we focus on living at your goal weight, I think it sets you up better, because, ultimately at the end of the day, just to reframe this even more, you're really looking to live at the ultimate weight loss plateau. That's what I call it. Right? Because ultimately you want to get your goal weight and just stay there. So in a weird way, you want to stay at a plateau forever, but you just want it to be at the weight you choose. All right. So along the way to getting there, because this is an important reframe, but stick with me. So our main goal is to get to the ultimate weight plateau, which is at our goal weight. And if we think of it that way, now, as we're going through the process of losing weight, we're coming down. Well, of course, we're going to hit plateaus. Right. And I always think of plateaus as kind of like base camp, right? If you think about Everest, they don't just start at Everest and climb up to the top Everest. They'll climb up to the base camp, stay there a little bit, acclimate. Base camp, stay there, acclimate. Base camp, stay there, acclimate. And they keep going up that way. And I think weight's very similar. I think as we're losing weight, and it's different numbers for each person, but typically people, especially if a considerable amount of weight to lose, you kind of lose some of it. And then I think you have to kind of normalize the things. Lose some more, normalize. So in my world, I've seen that more often. That's more real to me. Okay. And so once you start thinking of it that way, when you hit a plateau, what I always suggest to people is that whatever you did to get to that plateau, keep doing the same thing. So most people, dieters, are so obsessed with losing weight that the second they hit a plateau, they freak out. And what they'll typically do is say, how can I cut more calories out? And then freak themselves out even more. I always say when you hit a plateau, relax. Great. Keep doing what you did to get here, but optimize it. What do I mean by optimizing? I don't mean cut more calories. I mean, whatever you did to get to this weight, start making it easier and more enjoyable for yourself, right? So whatever shifts and changes you made in your diet and your lifestyle and your thinking to lose the weight initially, focus on those things and make it easier and more enjoyable to do. You say, so I changed my breakfast. Great. Focus on your breakfast. How can you make it easier to make that breakfast? How can you make it more enjoyable so you really look forward to it? And if you work on that for about a month, I would say, then you have the opportunity to look and say, okay, did my weight loss start again? Or am I still at the same weight? Because sometimes when you're losing weight, you can do the right stuff, but your body the weight loss stalls for a little bit. But I've seen so many people where the weight loss stalls and they just keep doing the same thing and then just kicks back up again. I've seen that so much that we just don't know which it is. But the other thing as well, it can happen that you hit a plateau and it just maintains now. But if you get to a month, now you have a pretty good idea that, okay, my body's kind of equalized and now I can look at what I do, how I typically eat, where would be the easiest place to cut some more calories out, right? So that becomes a base camp and now say, okay, I'm ready to go to the next level. So that's how I suggest approaching plateaus. And I think it's a huge part of the process. Virginia says, I gained double the weight I lost after I stopped them. I'm sorry, Virginia. Yeah, we're going to hear that a lot, because I know that life's like a pendulum. I use this metaphor all the time in the program. Life's like a pendulum and dieters make an enormous pendulum, right? So dieters are famous for over restricting and then overeating, right? Then, super over restricting, then super overeating. And they got this giant pendulum, right? And I think the GLP-1s are going to mimic this to some degree. So again, you're not restricting, but you're not hungry at all, right? You feel so kind of shitty and full that you're not eating at all. But then as soon as you come off of them, that hunger comes back full force. And now it's like that hunger comes back and now you start eating more. And now I think I'm really fascinated by this question as well, that I think now you're swinging back. Now your hunger just feels raring because life's relative. Life's a relative game. And so if you go for a year or 2 years on these medications and you're not eating anything, you're not doing your old habits, all this stuff's gone away, then all of a sudden you come off it. Now all of a sudden that hunger comes back like a 100-foot snowball at you, 100 miles an hour. That's an intense thing to deal with. And I imagine it could very easily cause you to get caught up in the food and then again, blow past the weight you used to be at. So I'm sorry to hear that, Virginia. And unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be an unusual story. I think we're going to hear a lot of people that are going to put more weight on. Again, you know what? I've been through this too much, folks. I've been doing this for over 30 years personally and over 20 years professionally. And every time there's some miracle cure, it doesn't seem like a miracle cure to me. And again, as I say this, I've been saying this since the first day of GLP-1s. I will take the success stories of GLP-1s all day long, and I will put my Program Yourself Thin success stories against them every day of the week. There's no question which one's better. What do you think's better? Having to take $1,000 injection for the rest of your life and never enjoy food again? Or, be able to eat all the foods you want to eat in a more controlled way where you feel like a better version of yourself? It's obvious. And one's set up for the long term and one is not. And we're going to start to see the other side of the GLP-1s. Again, like I said, you've only been able to see the rosy stuff because it's been really a narrative controlled by the pharmaceutical companies. And again, you're not going to really see more of the truth of GLP-1s until starting right about now, especially over this year, because now you're going to start to get the stories and you're going to start to know the people, all the people that have lost weight on them. You're going to see a percentage of them put the weight back on because they're not going to stay on this. They're not going to like how they feel. They're not going to like paying that money. They're not going to be able to pay that money. And we're going to see. We'll see, Let's see. Yeah, so if there's any questions, feel free to ask them. I think I got all through the TikTok ones. Oh, I missed them. No, got them. All right, we got all the questions. Good. We get out of here. Well, I appreciate y'all hanging out with me today. I know we're right before Christmas, so yeah, it's kind of fun. And I always, there's Vicky. Vicky, what did it say? Vicky said, I think I'm maintaining is managing to stay at my weight range goal. Which I guess could be considered a plateau. Yeah. And when I get to the higher level of that range, I recognize I need to dial down and adjust consumption. Yeah, I do the exact same thing. I do the exact same thing as Vicky. I don't think of my goal weight as a number. I think of it as a range. And when I get to the high end of that range, I start usually I'll kick into gear. Last year I got, 10 pounds off of that, and, 14 years, I got 25 pounds off of that. But other than that, I pretty much right in that range. But that range thought concept is really important. So I hope you all internalize that, 'cause that's a really key one. Jane says, I'm curious about your academic background in terms of this. I'm not criticizing because I think your program is great. Yeah, my academic background in terms of this, I might quickly want to say nothing, but let me speak, right? Because I consider myself a learned man, but I consider myself a self-learned man in this area. I mean, I do have a finance, I have a finance and investments degree from one of the top undergrad business schools in the country, but at the same time, my story, just real quick, when I was 19, I was 50 pounds heavier. I was binge drinking. I was all this shit. Took a semester off from school, discovered hypnosis, yoga, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, Tony Robbins, personal development, yoga, meditation, martial arts, guitar. I started doing all this stuff within a couple months at a very low point in my life. And I was smitten with it. And so next semester I went into school, to do my business stuff. And, but I was just obsessed with this, and ironically, I remember the first day we had an orientation thing at this business school and they hired a hypnotist. Imagine this, right? It's so funny how life works sometimes. And this guy was so great. Jerry Valley, I always remember, because he lives about an hour and a half away from here. But anyways, he was amazing. He wasn't like a typical doofus, stage hypnotist, goofy shit. It was like almost more of a demonstration. And I was like, wow, this is really, really cool. And so anyways, I got my degree, but then the whole time I was just obsessed with all this. And so I would say most of my learning from this has really come from self-study, but obsessive self-study. I have been obsessed with this stuff for over 30 years. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm a certified yoga instructor. I'm a certified master hypnotist, a certified NLP trainer, a certified strategic coach. I mean, I've done certifications and all those things. I consider them a little different than, I don't consider them academic. I hate to say, I was in academics. Where I went to college was an academic, and I got to be honest. I mean, my certifications were amazing, but come on, they're two different worlds. So I resist saying that. So I would say that, yeah, but I learned a big lesson with that, because I will tell you, even back then, I remember I was so passionate and obsessed with this work. And I used to just read, I would go to the library. I mean, I learned how to speed read, you know what I mean? I was reading, 50 to 100 books a year for a while there. I mean, I was obsessed with this stuff. And so a big lesson I learned is that when you're really passionate about something, you can learn so much easier. So yeah, I would say that's it. And then I've done almost 6,000 private weight loss sessions. Been doing this professionally over 20 years. But I don't know. I will tell you, and I don't want to start sounding like a delusional, egomaniac here. But I do believe there was a great book I read one time. I'm going to blank on the name of it, but it was something like, oh my God, now I can't remember, but it was basically about paradigm shifts in science. Well, that's not the name of it, but it was something like that. And basically they were going through huge paradigm shifts within the scientific community over, 2000 years. And one of the patterns that arose is that a lot of times the paradigm shifts within science came from a person who was from outside the discipline. And I will say that I think it served me very well to have taken an alternative path. And I'll tell you a funny story. This is a true story. I don't know if this will impress or disgust you all. I don't know, but I'm going to share it anyways because I think it's funny and it really puts a pin on this whole point. Is that I remember I was a sophomore in college and I was taking a psychology course. And I remember we had to write a paper about a psychological situation thing. And it wasn't like a concept, like a Freudian thing. It was just like basically just something. I had to pick a thing. But I wrote something. I was so confident about it. I was like, this is really good. This is a good thing. And I remember the psychology professor looking at it, he gave me like a C. And I was like, I was shocked because I knew, like, I truly believed in myself that it was really good. And I didn't really feel that a lot with school. Like either, I don't know. I was like, okay, maybe this is good. Maybe it's bad. I don't know. Tell me whatever the grade is. But I remember the psychology class. I was like, oh, I know this. I know psychology. I always felt like I knew it, And I remember I got that grade back and it didn't even faze me in the least. I genuinely felt like that professor was wrong. So that's why I say, I don't know if you're impressed by that or not. I don't know if it's a good or bad story, but it's a true story. And I remember that being the beginning of really feeling so confident that I was right and he was wrong. And I would say that I've ridden a lot of that confidence. I feel very confident in this field, I would say, much more than other areas I've done, much more than finance and investments and economics and all that other stuff. I just felt like when it comes to practical psychology, I feel like I've always been pretty good with it. And I have studied a lot too. Don't get me wrong. I've studied a lot, but I've absolutely taken an alternative route. I would not deny that. But I think that alternative route has really been one of the primary reasons why I'm here in front of you talking about Program Yourself Thin. I mean, for example, you know what I mean? Like, this is the goal weight blueprint of the program, right? This is 144 pages. This is the blueprint we go through. So again, my program is not for the faint of heart. I mean, this is, there's a lot of stuff in here, but this is all stuff I came up with from 30 years of studying people who had lost weight and kept it off. I think coming at things from an alternate angle is what makes this unique. I'm not studying how to lose weight as quick as possible, which is what 99% of weight loss is all about. I started studying people that lost weight and kept it off for at least 2 years. And so I have I'm grounded in a completely different space than most weight loss is, because most weight loss just wants you to lose weight as fast as you can right now. And what happens though with that methodology is it's typically something that's unsustainable. And that leads to a lot of issues that people have with weight. So my difference is that I'm really about how can you live at this goal weight? That's the key thing. And so I do think that that alternative path has served me very, very well. And I think it's the reason why I'm here, hopefully, sharing something different with you, than you always hear. You always hear the same stuff. I mean, God damn, if I had gone to school for like nutrition or a dietitian or a psychology, because again, my path, it's funny. I'll tell you one other quick funny story is that when I opened my hypnosis office, I was right down the street from, it was Antioch, I believe it was called. And it was a school that was like, their big thing was having a PsyD. A PsyD is like a PhD in psychology, sort of. It's like a hair lower than it, but it's basically a PhD. It's like a 5-6 year program, super intense, all the rest of it. But I used to regularly get those students coming in, doctorates in psychology, and they'd have to come to the hypnotist because they had test anxiety, stress, they couldn't control their certain habits. And I thought that was another thing that was really eye-opening, that I think there's a big difference between understanding why things are happening and having some real genuine strategies to actually help people change, so anyways, but I appreciate that question. Michelle says, what's the title of your book? The title of the book is The Tao of Living at Your Goal Weight. So again, I will be giving these away for free. Well, the Kindle version, I should say, I should be clear about that. I will be giving the Kindle version of this away for free the first week of January. Not the first day, because I'm going to do it like Sunday to probably Thursday. I think I get 5 days. I can give it away for free. But again, if you get on my email list, I'll be letting you know all about it. You will not miss it. I promise you that. But this is a good book. I've started to get some reviews from people, and they're validating everything I'd hoped and dreamed of. I think this book's really good, I got to say. And I want you to have it. So again, that's why I'm giving it away for free. So make sure you join my email list. If you're on TikTok, you can click the little picture of me up on the top left. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, you can go to that link I posted, the Hypno one. I posted 2, one was wrong. But you can go to the one with Hypno on the end, and that will get you there. I'll get you on my list. You'll get a free hypnosis session. I'm giving away a free Calm Holiday session and training. I'm just giving you this week. You're going to get a free training, 3 Steps to Master Your Weight training I just give you. So I give you a bunch of stuff. So go check it out. And if you like listening to this, I'm usually here Monday through Friday, right around noon Eastern. Obviously, this week is a little wonky, so we'll see if I'll be here tomorrow or not. I might pop on, just say hi to everyone, wish everyone a Merry Christmas. So go check that out. This is also a podcast, so if you do miss the live tune, you like listening to it, you can go listen to the podcast whenever you want. It's called Program Yourself Thin, so any podcast platform will have it. Janie says, lost 50. Enjoy your messages. Learning maintenance. LOL. Yeah, very good, Janie. But you are learning maintenance, right? Maintenance. Again, I will say, in Program Yourself Thin, we start practicing maintenance right on day one. That's why it is right the last thing in the mindset section that we work on. Maintenance. Can you read that? Is that clear? Coming in clear? I promise you, it says maintenance. So maintenance is key. So nice job, Janie. Congrats. That 50 pounds, that's a big accomplishment. So yes, I hope you're on my email list too. Because if you are on my email list too, like the daily emails are going to start up again. Those kind of lagged off a little bit, but they're going to start going. Got a bunch of cool stuff coming for the new year for you. A lot of cool stuff. Program yourself looking nice. So there. Oh, there we go. All right. So, yeah. All right, everyone. Have a super duper day, and we will talk soon. Bye.